our garden is planted. It's all coming up except for 2 rows of corn that we did have to reseed, but everything from seed is coming. Our tomatoes and our peppers, our cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli that I started in the greenhouse is all planted, and it's looking great after a couple nights. There's a couple of cucumbers that didn't do as good, but I think they're still going to come back. Our little orchard tree is doing good, but I'm going to turn the camera around, take you on in, and let you see what we've been working at. Okay, here's our first garden. And we have beans growing. This row is beans. We've actually got 2 rows of beans. And here are the peppers. Now these 2 I don't see. Actually, these were cucumbers. These were the 2 cucumbers that are not doing good. This cucumber did really good, but I do have replacements for those. But our pepper plants that we put in, that I started from seed, are all doing great, and that goes all the way down to where our tomatoes start. And our tomatoes are really looking good. This row is kind of a lettuce and onion. There's some onions down there. It's kind of a salad row. And I think I've got some kale planted down there, some radishes, and you can see them coming up. Here we have 2 more rows of tomatoes with some basil in between. We've got a little basil in between. We will put cattle panels probably later today on the inside rows of both tomato rows, and that way this will give us a clear pathway to walk through the tomatoes as they grow. The next row are our peas. We also got to get our little fence up for the peas, but they're coming really good. If I get the right spot on there, I might not be able to see it going that way. Let's go this way. But they're growing so fast. Our beans have popped through. They're doing good. Over here I've got my brassicas that I started from seed in the ground, and they're actually all coming up. Most of the holes, here's another one. I've also got brassicas planted from seeds that I started in the greenhouse, so they're going to be a little earlier start. We have soaker hose going. We've got this whole area through here is carrots. Down here we have carrots coming back from last year that we're going to go ahead and let go to seed and try to save some seeds. But we're trying to soak the trees, the irises, as well as this area. And as you can see, this is the vine that we fight. And it's a horrible one. It is everywhere. And we can't use the weed fabric everywhere, so there's still some certain amount of weeding. There's a peppermint. We'll leave that one. So we really got to be careful when the carrots start popping up that they don't get choked out. But our little orchard is looking so good. We've got apples and plums. On a morning like this, it's beautiful. Some zucchini from seed is coming up. I planted some that I had started earlier too. I've planted more brassicas throughout these little holes here, which will grow fast. And we'll just head over to the other garden area. We have a few raspberries coming up. We've got 2 short little rows here of them, and they're looking really good. And some more. Down here, This is where we planted our row of zucchini, and you can see it. Yes, it's a lot of zucchini. And I did this last year. I grew a lot of zucchini, and that way my chickens that are locked up for the summer months, while we've got the garden going, they still get a lot of fresh veggies right from the garden. And the goats, they like them. So we get to have as much as we want. We sell some, we give some away. The animals get it, so nothing goes to waste. Here's what's left of my plants to go out. There's not very many, and they're all a little slow, later ones, but there's still some peppers, a couple tomatoes, some kale to go out, some celery, some cauliflowers, and some more tomatoes, just in case we have a bad storm. I've still got a few backup. We'll go over to the greenhouse in a little bit. This greenhouse I've closed up for the season because we're done with it. It just gets too hot for plants. But this whole row of zucchini that I started early is doing great. The next 2 rows are squash, which is coming. All different kinds of squash. Buttercup, butternut, banana. Lots of squash all the way down to the end of the rows. Down here are pumpkins on both sides, and they've got this whole area to spread out. Next are our 2 rows of corn that will come up first, and it's coming up. It really popped up yesterday. And here we start the row out down here with cucumbers. And some of the holes are where I planted seed, and you see they're already sprouted coming up. And some I had started earlier in the greenhouse. So we're going to have a lot of cucumbers. I've got a variety of peppers here coming. Some I started from seed, some I've picked up. Different kinds that I didn't have started. The next row, our next few holes are seeds that I just planted 2 days ago, so they're not sprouted yet, of melons. I have some melon down here that has, see, I lost a couple of the watermelons. They didn't do so good. That one might be coming back. That one's okay. And these look really good. These are watermelon, I believe. I believe those are watermelon. And I plant, oh no, those are melons, sorry. Just regular, like muskmelon type cantaloupe. And all these empty holes are seeds that I've just stuck in recently. So they'll be sprouting. And here's our other garden. We've got 4 gardens actually, 3 of them here. And one is up by the main corrals with just potatoes in. So here's our garden area. And this weed fabric just really helps us out. Here are peppers that I've planted. We've got a big variety all the way down. The green stuff at the far end are parsnips from last year that I'm hoping will seed. The next rows are brassicas. Let's see, I've got some radishes. I think this is a lettuce row again with some different lettuces and radish and kale. But here's the brassicas that I started in the greenhouse. And they're doing really good. The next row would be onions. And they're coming good. Some weeds in there. Gonna have to get them pulled. And then we have 2 rows of carrots, which you can see they're coming, but there's going to be a lot of coming out and picking a lot of the little vine to make it work. 2 rows of the carrots. Those are the 2 rows of corn we just planted yesterday. And here's 2 rows of potatoes. This isn't our main potato patch, but they did get started good. And here again, you see that horrible vine that we deal with. So this fabric really helps a lot. Otherwise, my whole garden would be like this. So we need to come through the potatoes now, but the potatoes are looking really good. We're soaking this area right now. It's a little wet there. I have cabbages in that row, and they're coming along really well. There's a couple little apple trees that were given to us this spring, and you can see the green on top of it. But I think it's really got a good start. Pretty excited. Let's go check the goats. So let's stop at the greenhouse before we go over to the goats and take a peek here. If y'all missed us building our greenhouse this spring out of pallets and cattle panels, it is approximately 14 by 20-ish, and it's working great. We have just this week rolled up all the plastic on all 3 sides for an airflow, and we've got a window that's open with a screen. We've got this screen door with chicken wire on, so we've got some good airflow going through here. The plastic is still on the top. This is an experiment for me, and everything so far is doing really good. I do have several cabbages back there and some brassicas that need to be thinned out. I've got pots of herbs, mints, that I'm going to be setting out. I still have some celery to plant, some more kale to get out, and this is rhubarb. More kale and basil to plant. I've got some chives. Okay, I've got a few peppers out on this little section. I've got a cucumber back here that I'm hoping will grow up. I've got lots of little onions from seed planted there. Got some more herbs. Lots of small tomatoes just in case I need them later. And here's a weed in here that doesn't need to be. But extra tomatoes. And there's basil, some rosemary, some sage. Lots of peppers here that I can move around, transplant. These will get planted into my flower garden area. Got some kale and celery there. A nice pot there growing with rosemary, a cucumber, and a little tiny tomato. My green beans are really coming up. The peas are along there. I'm hoping to get them trained over to the pallet. Next, I see we have a few weeds and a little bit of grass coming up. We have some zinnias down here growing. I have a few parsnips coming there. I'm going to step over really careful. But these are weeds in amongst my carrots. There's parsnip right there, and these are carrots. Then we have some Swiss chard that I've been picking already and putting in green salads. My spinach really needs to be picked and dehydrated. This lettuce was a mix, and I'm not really crazy over this big leaf stuff. I'm eating it, but I'm working at getting it out and letting all this other mix come like that. It's taken over, but it's still pretty good. Next, okay, I'm going to back up. I've still got extra little tomatoes here. I have beets that I've been sneaking a few of the tops, and we've been eating them. They're just beautiful right now. In here's another weed. Right in here, I've got a little kale that's been really good. I've been picking radishes like crazy. You can see them. They're all ready. We'll pull one. We've been roasting them. We've been putting them in salads. Here's some more kale and celery. Now this is from a friend, an amaranth, and I need to get it in a big pot. I planted her tomatoes yesterday. There's some celery. I have 2 zucchini plants in here. Along the palette are some flowers, but the zucchini are really coming. I've got more celery to get out. This is some herbs here. More peppers, just starting. So I have a lot of replacements. Here's a bucket of basil and different mints. Back in this corner, I've got some tomatoes and a basil and a kale. There's the kale, the tomatoes. I threw some seeds out, so there's a lot of tomato seeds coming too. And there's the basil. So I'm really liking this little greenhouse. It gives us a chance to get, and those are cucumbers, gives us a chance to get fresh stuff a little earlier here in Montana. And I'm hoping that it'll work really good for the fall too. When we first get that first frost, it's usually kind of early, and if you don't cover things in the garden, you lose it and you're done. But then the weather could get really nice. It's what we call an Indian summer after that. And so I'm really hoping that I can contain this greenhouse and be able to keep, a couple tomato plants going, a couple cucumber plants going just a little longer, and the peppers into the season, a variety. And yes, we've got some help. No, don't bite on my basket. You want the cucumber or the radish? Let's go. No, she likes to chew on everything. So now we'll go to the goats. They tell me I'm walking too close to their birdhouse. So I have birds flying all around me. This mama is sitting on a bunch of eggs. Hopefully they'll hatch. We had to move her out. She was in the pen where the turkey was with her baby chicks, and the mama turkey was bothering her head, pecking on her. So we moved her in her cage, or her box, into this cage. I hope she does well. I hope it didn't disturb her. Mama turkey is doing great. She has 7 little chicks. And they're not turkey chicks. They're little chicks. Let's see if we can get a little closer look. There, oops. There we go. She's being a good mama with them. We still need to make our ducks a little bigger area. We had to get them moved this spring and get them locked in and contained. This setup has been working really good. This I try to keep really full so they can swim in. I clean it out every once in a while. This I will dump and they'll get some fresh water for drinking. But we have a nest over here with only 3 eggs in there. There were more. I think we still got something coming in. We've got crows or we have skunks still taking eggs. We did get the kitties out of the hot greenhouse. So this is kind of their area right here now. They're wild barn cats, but they actually tolerate me really well. It's good to see a few mousers around. Over here are some of the goats. I'm not seeing my brown goat with the horns. Maybe she's in the barn. She's close. Look at these cuties sunbathing. We'll go in and get a little closer look. So everybody's pretty worried right now, and it's because they're still getting used to you know who, Emma. They're not sure what to think of her. Or her, them. It's still all new to everybody. Huh, Emma? She's a puppy, but she's been learning and listening as good as she can. Like mama, like daughter over there. Time for you to have your babies. Soon. Got a couple of yearlings here. I like the colored babies, but there's something about even a pure white little girl, or little boy, actually that one is, and there's the mate to it. No, excuse me, I'm wrong. This one's not a mate. This is a little girl. That's a little girl, and this one is her mama right here with the spots. There's another little boy. He's really colored up. So you got a little peek at the goats this morning. Time for me to get to work.